For many years I worked as a filmmaker in the Third World, particularly in Africa and in the Middle East, making films and writing about the struggles of people to regain their freedom and their independence from colonial rule. And I felt that I had an obligation, given that I had access to resources and skills, to provide platforms for people who had struggled very much to assert their rights and regain their liberties, to be able to tell their stories in a way that would both preserve them for their own history as well as share them with people in other parts of the world, and particularly in the United States. Toward the end of the 1970s, I was fortunate, along with a number of colleagues from the U.S., to obtain a substantial grant from a U.S. foundation to make a film about the history of Somalia, and in particular the efforts by the Somali people in the late 19th and early 20th century to throw off the shackles and control of both the British and the Italian who had colonized Somalia. This was a wonderful opportunity in that there had never been a film that explored this period of Somali history. And because the Somali Film Agency and Somali artists and writers were very much involved in the early stages of planning this project, I spent many months in Somalia, along with my colleagues from the U.S., working with our counterparts and developing relationships with the writers and others who were working with us, costume designers and logistics people. We developed very powerful bonds. But at the same time, it was difficult working in Somalia. The communications were hard. Roads, travel was challenging. And there was a divergence amongst the three of us from the U.S. who were principally responsible, divergence of opinion as to how the project should go forward. This created a strong dilemma for me because, on the one hand, I felt personally obligated to our counterparts in Somalia who had such expectations for this project and who had put so much energy and time and resources into it. And I also felt personally that I had the same sort of responsibility to participate in recording this history and preserving it and making it available to the world. At the same time, I began to feel that it would not be possible to complete the project given the divergence of opinions and interests of the three of us from the U.S. And so I grappled for quite a long time with how I should handle this. I did not want to disappoint our colleagues. I did not want to let this opportunity go by, but at the same time, I felt that, in fact, I would not be able to accomplish either of those goals given the friction that was developing between myself and my colleagues. The way I ultimately resolved it was to resign from the project, to admit that I did not have the ability to control what was going to happen, and that rather than continue to give the impression to our counterparts in Somalia that the project was going forward properly and that we would be able to realize it, I took the choice of withdrawing myself from it. It was not easy. I felt very bad about it for quite a long time. Ultimately, the project did get completed without the participation of any of the U.S. personnel, because the Somalis took the screenplay and other elements of the project that had been developed and hooked up with another production company from another country to be able to complete the film. So in one sense, I did have a part in getting the project going, but at the same time, I had did not have the satisfaction of being able to see it all the way through.